Every pen nerd knows that when you have a good pen, you need an equally good case. As professional stationery nerds, we knew exactly who to partner with to create our very own custom pen case. Rickshaw Bagworks has been handmaking cases for over 17 years. We knew their unique design philosophy would be perfect for bringing our idea to life.
We're really all about customizing individual products, the unit of one, not mass production at all.
We drafted a couple of concepts before settling on one inspired by the JetPens team's favorite treat, boba tea. After sending over our artwork and getting back some samples, we finally landed on the perfect design. Then, we headed over to Rickshaw to see how they were made. Every case at Rickshaw starts with this printer.
Getting it set up so that it can start feeding that information to the printer. And so in a second, we'll see this little smiley face here will start flashing at us and the print head will start going back and forth.
The printing process begins on paper with an inkjet printer that transfers the design using small dots of just 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, or CMYK. Fresh off the printer, the colors look slightly duller than they will in the final design. The paper is torn off and attached to a heat press machine that reaches temperatures of 390 degrees Fahrenheit. This incredible heat transfers the image from the paper onto polyester fabric using a printing process called dye sublimation. While the printed paper is in contact with the fabric, a heated drum in Rickshaw's roll-to-roll press causes the ink pigments to vaporize. The ink molecules bind with the polyester molecules, resulting in a permanent image on the fabric. It is through this heat transfer process that the ink's color reaches full vibrancy.
Yeah, so this is probably, I don't know, a couple, if it's a % of the ink of the pigment that was on there, but it's still on the paper.
Once the fabric is ready, it's handed over to skilled artisans for cutting. The sheets of printed fabric and internal lining are carefully cut out by hand. Rickshaw has strict criteria for the fabric they use in their pen cases.
So all of our fabrics are what I call performance fabrics. Nylon, polyester. Performance fabrics last a long time. They have better wear performance to kind of natural fabrics. Fabrics are fascinating. For example, the toy industry is where we get our soft material from, our royal plush.
A laser cutter is used to precisely cut out the individual pieces that will be sewn together. Assembling the cases takes a keen eye for detail. First, a zipper is attached. Then, the custom label is sewn onto the side. The interior is constructed by layering the plush lining material, and the internal pen pockets are sectioned off. To reinforce the case, Rickshaw's signature black outer trim is added. Afterwards, loose threads are snipped away and burned to create a clean finish. Then, the case is turned right side out. Finally, the case is ready to get handed off for a quality check. We're so happy with how these cases turned out, and we'd love to know which flavor is your favorite. We also had the chance to sit down with Mark and ask him all about the behind the scenes at Rickshaw.
So what's the basic business model of Rickshaw?
I tell people the big idea at Rickshaw is the unit of one. When I started Rickshaw 17 years ago, lean manufacturing was all the rage, and when I was working at the company where I started in the bag business, Timbuktu, we were very much about lean manufacturing. That was kind of our story. And so when I started Rickshaw, it seemed natural to bring those principles to my own manufacturing environment. But as time went on, it became clear to me that really we were more about the unit of one, a customized product where you were choosing your colors and your sizes and the colors of fabric and the color of the label and the trim. And we try to employ digital technology wherever we can to facilitate that. So fabric printing, digital. Laser cutting, we laser cut many of our products. Once we have the assets in the computer to print a product, they're there. We can go get them at any time. We can make one or we can make many of any of our products. And so that's the big idea at Rickshaw, the unit of one.
So what's a typical day like at Rickshaw Bagworks?
So a typical day is I come in early to turn on some equipment. I'm part of the production process, so I usually get here around 7:30 in the morning. Our heat press for all of the fabric printing takes about an hour and a half to heat up, so I turn that on. I get the printer ready and sort of have to go through a cleaning cycle. And then I just start working on whatever projects I was working on before I left the day before. The sewing team comes in around 8 in the morning and they start sewing at 8:30, and then they have a couple breaks during the day, of course, and then they knock off around 5 o'clock. And then being the owner entrepreneur that I am, I'm usually here till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I'm in the production process. I do all of our fabric printing. So my day is printing fabric, and then everything from making sure that we reorder materials if we need it, doing some marketing, making sure we take some Instagram photos. Most of the company's quite small. We have 11 employees. 8 of them are in production, 7 sewers and a supervisor. And then there's me and Cheryl and Harrison in the office doing everything else. We have a much bigger than life image to the outside world, I think. And I think people are quite surprised when they come here and, they see a lot of equipment and a lot of activity, but they're like, wow, you do all this with just this number of people? And so it's a little bit humbling when you come and see it. It's a pretty small operation, but it gets the job done.
How did you get into fountain pens, and did that kind of shape how you designed the pen cases?
So I got into fountain pens, I might say, because of Kickstarter.
Oh.
And I was backing some projects by makers who were actually not making fountain pens, but were making machined rollerball pens.
Gotcha.
But I backed, I think, 1 or 2 Keras projects doing click action rollerball pens, and then they did a fountain pen.
Okay.
And they announced that, hey, Keras is going to come to the San Francisco Pen Show. And I was like, there's a pen show? There's such a thing?
That's usually
Are
people's
there
response.
enough pen nerds in the world to support a pen show? Let alone now I know, dozens of pen shows. But at the pen show, I observed that people were spending 3 or 4 times on a single pen, Urushi pen from Japan, what they would spend on a laptop computer. And I thought to myself, what these people need is my laptop sleeve for their pen. I was like, wow, I got everything I need to do this already. And boy, how cool is it to make little teeny sleeves instead of big laptop sleeves, And so that's how it started. The concept was every pen should have its own sleeve, its own pen slot, if you will, if it's a multi-pen case. And our kind of tagline is, you collect them, we protect them. And we do that with plush lining in all of our royal plush lining in all of our pen cases.
What's the most memorable pen case that you've made?
We've made some really long pen rolls. And I think you might like this one because the dragon roll was actually, your featuring of the 6-pen dragon roll on a JetPens video was kind of what got us started with JetPens. And so I'll let you unroll this one.
Understood.
It's a little bit larger than the one that you're accustomed to.
Just like a little bit, though.
So this is a 30-pen roll. I did this for 30 Inks, 30 Days.
That's right.
The
Yes.
project that is hosted by Tom Odo, who's in the pen industry and has a little side project that he sends out ink flights, and he sponsors this project called 30 Inks, 30 Days.
A few moments later.
Jade.
Yes.
Or there's a couple of glows in there.
This is the glow. This is a cafe creme. This is white.
I didn't get the cream yet.
Oh.
That's really nice.
I have this one. And then the mint blue. Okay, sorry, what were we doing? I got distracted. Outro. We want to thank Mark and Rickshaw Bagworks for having us here today.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
And we also want to thank Rickshaw for making these pen cases. You can find them on jetpens.com. Thanks so much for watching, and bye.
Bye-bye.